just before everything gets started, I am wearing a full fit from these two rails that's on the website. This is a Nike France Polo, and these are 36-inch waist Ralph Lauren chinos. Hopefully you like the fit. Give me a thumbs up for the fit. So if no one gives a thumbs up, then no one likes it. But yeah, what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically talk about the fundamentals of scaling a business whilst picking some looks to take some photos for the website. So yeah, let's see how distracted we can get. I mean, me can get. Why am I saying we? You guys, me, we. How we can all get distracted. So, because yeah, this is a bit of a complex one because I'm thinking whilst also doing about scaling. I'll get there, guys. Don't worry, I'll get there. I'm going to shoot it on this floor as well, so I'm aware that the reds aren't going to work with it, but just for the sake of not moving the camera, we're going to stay here. So yeah, I wanted to talk about scaling. And I wanted to talk about the fundamentals of scaling as a nutshell, really. Because I think when most people start a business, you obviously have to dream with some sort of goal to want to be big or to want to grow. Because otherwise, if you're not thinking like that... Wait, where's that? Oh, sorry, hang on. I just needed to get this. This is going to be for my next bit. I feel like if you're not thinking about scaling or you're not thinking about growing, then, you know, you are being stagnant. But I kind of wanted to break down what, in my eyes, scaling really means. Because I think that there's lots of elements of scaling, but as a principle and as a definition, to me, scaling really just revolves around the reinvestment of your resources to create something bigger than it originally and initially was, whether that's reinvesting sources of finance to invest more, investing in more time to spend more time, because, you know, there's a misconception that people think in order to scale, you have to spend more money, but the other balancing element on that weighing scale is time. If you're in a position to give more time to something that you're working on, then you have more leverage to scale. And also, the whole thing about scaling is pretty relative to what you see as scaling. So, when we think about scaling, or when I think about scaling, oh, this brown's not really going to go with the red. You know what? We're just going to work with it, and I'm going to just do it anyway. But just so you know, I'm aware that the brown and the red are going to look a bit mad, but otherwise it's just going to be loads of neutral tones. This rug is an Afghan rug. I've got, like, back in the day, I had like this special vintage rug guy who'd always like sort me rugs out. Obviously I'd pay for them, but he'd like find me cool rugs. And this is a massive one. It's like 5 by 4 meters, but it's quite a deep red. So yeah, I'm aware of that, okay? I'm aware. But no, when we think about scaling, we think about so many different elements, you know. But so the scaling of your using of your time, I'm going to do some as we go along, actually, so I don't get distracted. So your time can be scaled. Your investment can be scaled, but your investment of finances is relative to your means of funds, I guess. Some people are in a better means of funds, and there's nothing against that. You can't be annoyed at somebody who's in a position to have more money and scale it up like that. Sometimes you've just got to accept the way the cards are dealt with that. And it is hard sometimes because you see a lot of people and you think, God, they're at that position. But, you know, the same way that Instagram and social media is a real problem, that sounded like an old man. Like, all it is really like most people putting themselves on some sort of pedestal and trying to make you either feel bad for not having what they have or make that you feel jealous that you wish you did have that. Whereas if you just take it as people want to show off their life, then kind of takes away the stigma of it. But anyway, enough about social media, because that'll be for another video. The scaling aspect of it. So, and yeah, I do actually take these photos on my phone right now for the website. Don't judge me. I am a pro, I promise. It's just that, again, my camera's being used for this. That's pretty cool. Check this out. I know that this is going to be really distracting. I'll probably come back to this topic as well. But look at that. It's quite cool on the rug. I wouldn't use that one, but look. That's pretty cool. Can you see that? Yeah, look. There it is. And there it is on the floor. That's actually hard. I should have hoovered the rug as well. Didn't think, was just like, let me get the camera on and talk to my friends. You guys are my friends. I'm so tangent and I'm so sorry. So I've picked a really tough topic to do while I'm doing something where I'm trying to like think as well. But no, scaling. So understanding the kind of what scaling really means. Understanding like the ways in which you can scale. So to me, scaling was something that I did by a means of, my initial thing was buy lots of clothes, with the profit from the clothes, buy marketing space, buy traffic, with that traffic, buy more clothes. So each increment was like clothes, then traffic, then clothes. So all the profit from the clothes was put into the traffic, all the profit from the traffic was put into the clothes. And something that obviously isn't what you might like to hear, but I didn't pay myself for several years doing this, and that's how I was able to scale up with what I did. I made a genuine, honest sacrifice to not pay myself. At the time, I lived at home when I was in the first stage of scaling. I lived at home until I was 25 or 26, and I just put everything into the goal, into what I wanted to do, which was building this up. I'll probably cut the rug out, although it does make it. So yeah, what I'm saying as well is with the scaling, especially with secondhand clothing and the vintage market and things, because you're working within such a unique business model, you know, you can't compare yourself to the people who scale through doing Amazon, because scaling through something where you have mass-produced stock is just like the cheat code to consumerism. Whereas when it's something like this, you're working on an individual basis, and with individual stuff, it requires individual effort. And it does connect to the scaling aspect, because I would say that with so if we looked at like the pillars of scaling, and I just went through in a very like brief way to go through it, you can scale by a means of buying lots of stock, right? And the stock can be something that you go hell for leather on. Like, you can buy lots of stock, and if you say, but what do you mean? How do I just buy stock? Like, I'm pretty much buying the same amount that I'm selling. Then that's the level of that phone. Okay, just because I know curiosity is a beautiful thing, and just to break up this video, let me just show you a couple of these items I'm really liking. This one, really nice. I love this one. Look at that. One Earth. Really cool. Peter Worth. Very nice. Sorry, I'm going to have cut that clip out because that phone is so annoying. Don't ever advertise your number on any platforms, because it just will not be a good response. People calling is so annoying. Sorry if you're one of the people that calls, but no, what I was saying is, if that's your level of scale, right, and you're like, well, okay, I buy 30 items of clothing a month, I sell 25, and with the 25, I'm able to buy 35, and I've got like a +5 item scale. That's your scalability through the clothing aspect. If you want to scale through advertisements, then you have to... I can't see it that unless you are funded by something, scaling through adverts has to be done after scaling through stock. So what I did to begin with, because I think it's important to relate it back to what I did, because I did do this, is when like I was buying stock, the first times I was buying stock was in blocks of 50 items, blocks of 100. Now, a disclaimer is that times were different back then. I spent time and spent ages looking for suppliers and building up rapport, and I believed that working with one supplier, he would give me better rates through time, and that's also something I'd advise. If you do work with wholesalers and suppliers, get used to having a bit of a shit rate with them, until they give you a better rate due to loyalty, because that's how business works. Loyalty favors those people that are loyal. So what I did was I bought stock, right? But I got to the point where like the bank was jumping up because I was throwing lots of items online, and everybody knows that the more items you put online, the more you sell. More about that in a different video though. But I remember at one point I spent basically everything I had in the bank on the next stock, and I realized at that time the stock that I was buying was more items than I had even sold in that like 2 years. So that's the rate of scaling that I did. I was like living at home, didn't have any means of, just had to pay for the businesses and things like that, and just living at home, doing that. And that is how I was fortunate enough to scale. But I obviously needed premises to do that, to scale, to go from having 500 items in a bedroom to having 3,500 in like, I don't know, it's probably like half the size of this room, if that size. It was small. Just another little one that's breaking up the video. If you ever see things like Stone Island on the website, currently, everything is priced based on the condition. So firstly, this jumper has slight discoloration across the collar, but it is a authentic Stone Island. Same for this. This gilet is authentic, but it's just got little wears along there. So if you ever see things that are a bit cheaper on the website, that's why. And that was how I scaled through the clothing. And with that scale, I obviously I caught on something where I was selling a lot of items. People liked the market. People were liking what I was doing. I was really spending a lot of time investing in the aesthetic, investing in models and stuff. So people invested in what I did because I invested in what people saw. And I think if you do that with what you're doing and create a USP, because it is all about a unique selling point. It's all about, people might say, how do I scale? But the question really has to be, how do you make yourself scalable with what you represent? If you are just selling clothes individually, like on a rail, and you've got these cool bits of Stussy, you've got nice like Nike tops, you've got cool graphic tees, what are you doing that the other guy that's doing the exact same thing maybe 50 miles away from you in his bedroom is doing? Like if you want to get competitive, scalability is competitive. And I had to get really competitive with what I did. There's a lot about third-party platforms and ways you do, but if I was to cut back to the point that I'm getting to, which I think I should really try and home in on something, because it's all about how to scale your business, right? You have to decide whether you want to give your time in order to generate more money. And by that, I mean, if you're willing to take a cut and you're able to take a cut and not pay yourself too, like, it's not something that I would directly advise because it might put you in tough situations and it totally depends where you are. But if you can afford to not be paid in order to invest it back into it, I would recommend that that's what you have to do in order to scale, especially with this type of business model. And once you get that cash, or once you're in that position where you're in a bit of fruition, where you've got space to grow, look at the suppliers that you have and the stock that you're able to buy, and see if you can get some sort of deal with buying more. See if you can scale up the hand picking process. Because when people think, how do I scale? One of the biggest things really most people are saying is, how do I make more money fast? Scaling up is like layman's terms for how do I make more money fast? And how you make more money fast is you don't really speed up that process, but you basically double down on all the things that you are already doing. Your time, spending more, whenever you buy in stock, looking for more stock. What are the limitations that you have right now? What is stopping you? If it's like, I have no money, have you got time? I have no money, I have no time. Well, then maybe scaling isn't an option for you right now, and you should probably just maintain where you are. I think scaling is very complex. When I scaled as well, and I got to the point where, because I did it in big increments, and they say that you shouldn't really scale that fast. Like I went from doing, I don't really want to talk figures, but I went from doing a lot to then doing an incredible amount to doing more and more. But then within like 1 year, it went from like 4 employees to 15. And remember, I'm not somebody that's come from a background of running businesses, but having to employ people because I've literally got 15,000 items and I'm having to scale up all elements of it. The photography, the concepts, the visualization, the social media, the model presences, the website aesthetic, so many different elements that had to constantly be challenged. And a lot of people that I had employed at the time, 90% of them were production. And I was like, and me and maybe like one other person were doing visualization and the kind of creative concept. It's always been me on the modeling and things like that. But to come back to the starting bit, the one thing, and it's probably bittersweet now because I don't know, scaling is a hard one, but I had to sacrifice my time to get to where I got. I had to sacrifice being paid, but I had to also sacrifice time. When I say things like, I've really worked 7 days a week for 12 years, it's not an exaggeration or a fabrication. I've had holidays where I've took my laptop and I've worked, but it's been a constant grind. But they were the choices that I made in order to get to where I needed to get to. Now, it's a bit different. But scaling is complex. I'd hope that this video has made sense and it's like a nice little take into it. Feel free to drop a comment if you've got this far and you're like, can you just elaborate more on like how you scale with marketing or something like that? Because I'll get to it anyway, but if you drop a comment, I'll know what's more of an urgency. So I've taken 2 flat lays, a mad amount, and it's 12:15 on a Wednesday. I'm doing a few videos today just to make the most of it. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed, really appreciate it. If you find yourself in a moment where you're like, you know what, I just like watching you, but also I like that top, then it is on the website down below. Feel free to check it out. And yeah, so the trousers for now. So yeah, big up.